Over the next few sessions, we're going to look at the X Windows system that provides graphical user interfaces to Unix and Linux. Now, you've probably used graphical user interfaces or GUIs before when you've used Microsoft Windows or possibly even Linux or another Unix distribution. On servers, you normally don't see a lot of graphics. And up until now in the course, we haven't used any of the GUIs because we've used the command line. There's a couple of reasons for this. First of all, old die-hard Unix enthusiasts believe that if you know the command line and know how to use it, you can do anything in Unix, a lot more than you can do with a simple GUI that may restrict you. And second of all, you have a lot more control over your Unix box. Another good reason is that graphical user interfaces use up a lot of system resources, memory and so forth, that could be better used in providing network services on a server. So on a server, such as what we might use FreeBSD for, or Solaris, you might not see a lot of graphical user interface, but you might see those on a typical desktop where you're running email and word processing and spreadsheets and listening to music and so forth. Let's talk about X Windows for a little bit. X Windows provides the ability to use these graphical user interfaces with Unix and Linux. Now we have a couple of different things. We have X-Free86, that's a popular X server, and X.org, or Zorg some people call it. And Zorg is basically more popular these days with newer Linux and Unix distributions. Now you can call it X, you can call it X Windows, you can call it the X Windows system, X or X11, it doesn't matter. Depends on whether you're a purist or not. Some of the purists don't like for it to be called X Windows. There is a lot of different layers to X, and we're going to talk about some of that. The first important thing we need to tell you is that X is not tied to the OS as it is with Microsoft Windows. Microsoft Windows is a very monolithic operating system. What you see as far as the graphical user interface is the operating system. Sure, you can go to a command line, to a command prompt, but that's just a sub-part of the operating system. It's not the operating system proper. With X Windows, it is not part of the operating system. You can run a FreeBSD system or a Linux system completely aside from X and never use a single graphical user interface and fully administer and use your server. It's modular, it's not tied to the OS, in other words. Now, an X server basically provides the graphical service to the OS. And that's why I say it's in many different layers. You have the X server, you have window managers, and then you have the desktops. The X server doesn't do anything except provide the graphical service capability to the OS. It's on the server where the keyboard and the mouse and the video are, and it just simply provides the video to different applications called X clients. An application could be an X client, a terminal could be an X client, and so forth. And they don't have to be running on the same system. Now, window managers, on the other hand, basically interact with the X server and provide enhanced capabilities. They manage the windows, they manage drawing on the screen, and so forth. And we'll talk about window managers a little bit later. And the same thing goes with full desktops. We'll talk about those a little bit later as well. But you have some really nice full desktops that are used in Linux and on some versions of Unix today. GNOME and KDE are two of the most popular examples. And they provide full GUI interfaces right along with the tools and widgets you need to be productive. Let's go ahead and take a look at a very fundamental installation of X Windows. Okay, we're in our FreeBSD 8 box on VMware, and what I like to do is run a simple graphical user interface, actually a simple version of X, and we're going to run startx, and basically there's some configuration that goes behind this, but understand right now that we don't have a window manager installed except a very basic one. We don't have graphical desktops and everything installed, so this could be a shock to those of you who have used newer operating systems such as Windows Vista or Windows 7, but here you go. Basically it's going to go through some configuration process, and then you're going to get, here you go, an XDM login window and an Xterm window. And basically you would log in to this window, and you could open multiple Xterm windows if you like, and that would basically provide you the capability to look at different terminals at the same time and actually multitask and run different processes and commands. So as you can see, it's very pristine. There's nothing to it. There's nothing there except a very basic window manager. And as we go through, we'll look at window managers and we'll look at different desktops as well that should be more familiar to you in terms of experience with using Windows or Linux or something else that has a nicer interface. But that's the very basic X Windows installation for FreeBSD. And like other Unixes and Linuxes, if we're at the command prompt, we just simply have to type startx to get it going. And that's after it's configured, of course.